All right, let's dive into this. Heidegger's Being in Time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a book that's known for being really tough to get through,
Sure.
but I really think it's worth it.
Right.
So I was going to try to break down some of the big ideas in a way that makes them not only easier to understand, but
Yeah.
also like actually useful to you,
Yeah, I think that's key, right? To make it relevant,
Totally, yeah.
to kind of bridge that gap between these really heady philosophical concepts
Right.
and everyday life.
Exactly.
Because I think that's what's so fascinating about this book.
Mm.
It was written back in the 1920s,
Yeah.
but it still feels so relevant today.
Oh, absolutely.
Heidegger was wrestling with these like seriously like deep questions.
Right,
Like
yeah.
like what does it even mean to be?
Yeah.
How do we like make sense of our existence when the world feels so chaotic and confusing
Like those are questions we're still asking ourselves.
all the time?
Yeah, totally.
So it's like he tapped into these fundamental human anxieties
Right.
that are just kind of timeless.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
But I think before we get too deep into the kind of existential stuff,
Yeah.
maybe it would help to give a little bit of context.
Okay, yeah.
Like what was going on in the world when Heidegger was writing this.
Yeah, paint us a picture.
All right, so picture Europe
Okay.
right after World War I.
Yeah.
Like it's a time of incredible upheaval,
Mm-hmm.
like massive disillusionment.
Mm-hmm.
Old certainties were crumbling,
Yeah.
and people were desperate for new ways of understanding themselves, the world, everything.
Okay. Wow.
And you can really feel that sense of uncertainty,
Yeah.
like permeating being and time.
So it's not just some abstract philosophy. It's like a product of its time.
It's very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
And to really get Heidegger, I think you have to understand the intellectual currents of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was influenced by a lot of different thinkers.
Yeah.
But one of the big ones was Edmund Husserl.
Okay.
And his focus on phenomenology,
Methodology, yeah.
which is it's all about exploring how we experience the world.
Okay.
How things appear to our consciousness.
So it's about like lived experience.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Heidegger takes this idea of lived experience and kind of
runs with it.
Yeah, and runs with it. And
Yeah.
then we get to design.
Design.
Right.
Yeah. One of his most famous
Yeah.
concepts,
Absolutely.
or being there, is absolutely central to Heidegger's whole philosophy.
Okay.
But it's not just about existing in the world, right?
Okay.
Like physically,
Yeah.
like a rock or a tree does.
Right.
It's about being aware of your existence.
Okay.
Being able to reflect on yourself and your place in the world. It's like that moment when you look up at the stars and you're just like, whoa, what is all of this?
Yeah.
And what does it mean that I'm here experiencing it?
Right.
That's dazing in action.
So it's not just being, it's like being aware of being.
Exactly. That's what sets humans apart.
Okay. Okay.
That capacity for self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
for questioning,
Yeah.
for wondering about our own existence.
Right.
That's what makes dazing so unique.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what allows us to engage with the world in a meaningful way,
Okay.
to make choices,
Yeah.
to create, to form relationships,
Okay. Yeah.
all of that.
But Heidegger doesn't stop there, right?
He doesn't stop there, no.
He goes on to say that we can't really separate ourselves
Right.
from the world around us.
Right.
He rejects this whole object split.
Yeah, he's not a fan of that.
It's not me over here and the world over there.
Nope.
All
For
right.
Heidegger, those are false distinctions.
Okay.
We're not just like detached observers of the world.
Yeah.
We're always already being in the world.
Being in the world.
Like we're thrown into this web of relationships, meanings, possibilities, and we can't untangle ourselves from it.
Okay, so for Heidegger,
Yeah.
it's all about interconnectedness,
Yeah.
about understanding ourselves as beings that are like deeply intertwined with everything around us.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay.
And this leads us to another core concept,
Mm-hmm.
care.
Care. Okay.
Heidegger argues that care
Mm-hmm.
is the fundamental structure
Okay.
of Dasein.
Mm-hmm.
We're beings who care
Okay.
about things, about people, about ideas.
All right.
And this care, it drives our actions.
Okay.
It shapes our choices. It gives our lives meaning.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you so far, but
Yeah.
isn't care kind of a loaded term?
Sure.
I mean, we usually think of it as something positive, right?
Yeah.
Like caring for our loved ones or our pets.
Yeah.
But couldn't it also be a source of like
Oh, absolutely.
stress, anxiety,
For sure.
even burden?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And Heidegger doesn't shy away from that.
Okay.
Like the darker side of care.
Mm-hmm.
He recognizes that caring about things, it makes us vulnerable.
Right.
It opens us up to the possibility of loss,
Yeah.
disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
even despair.
Right.
But he also sees this vulnerability
Yeah.
as a source of strength.
Wait, how can being vulnerable be a strength?
Well, think about it. I
Okay.
mean, if we didn't care about anything,
Yeah.
we wouldn't experience those difficult emotions.
Right.
Sure, but
Yeah.
we also wouldn't experience the joy,
Mm-hmm.
the love,
Yeah.
the fulfillment that
Right.
comes with caring deeply.
Okay.
You know, it's like a two-sided coin.
Yeah.
You can't have one side without the other.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Like it's like that old saying, the only people who don't experience heartache are those who haven't loved at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very true.
You gotta feel it to really
To experience it.
to experience life fully.
Yeah, and I've definitely felt the sting of caring deeply.
Sure.
But like you said, I wouldn't trade those experiences for anything.
Yeah, it makes it richer,
Yeah, they make life richer.
more meaningful.
Even if they bring some pain.
Yeah.
But Heidegger takes this whole idea of care even further, right?
He does.
He connects it to anxiety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he sees anxiety as like
Okay.
an essential part of Dasein.
Hmm.
And I think when most people think of anxiety,
Yeah.
they think of it as something negative,
Right.
something to be avoided.
Of course.
But Heidegger, he kind of flips that on its head.
Okay.
He argues that anxiety is actually a revelation.
A revelation. Yeah. That's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
How can anxiety, which makes us feel so uneasy, be a positive thing?
Well, because when we feel anxious,
Yeah.
it's often a sign that we're confronting like the groundlessness
Okay.
of our existence.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no instruction manual for life.
Right.
There's no guaranteed path
Yeah.
to happiness or fulfillment.
Right.
And that can be terrifying.
Sure.
But it also means we have the freedom
Yeah.
to create our own meaning,
Mm-hmm.
to choose our own path.
So anxiety is kind of like a wake-up call,
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it.
forcing us to confront the reality
Yeah.
that we're responsible for our own choices,
Yeah.
our own destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a powerful way to look at it.
It is.
But it also feels like a lot of pressure.
Sure.
You know, like how do we navigate that freedom
Right.
responsibly?
Well, Heidegger suggests that the awareness of our own mortality
Okay.
can be kind of a guiding light.
Okay.
So he introduces this concept of being towards death,
Being towards death.
which
Okay.
it doesn't mean dwelling on death in a morbid way,
Right. Right.
but rather recognizing that
Yeah.
our time is finite,
Mm-hmm.
and when you really grasp that,
Yeah.
it can be incredibly motivating.
It's funny because most people try to
Avoid
thinking about death at all costs.
Right.
But Heidegger's saying that it's actually the key
Yeah.
to living a more authentic life.
It's a paradox.
It is a paradox.
But think about it this way:
Okay.
if you knew
Yeah.
that you only had a limited amount of time left,
Right.
wouldn't you be more likely to prioritize
Yeah.
the things that truly matter to you?
Yeah, I think so.
You wouldn't waste time on things that don't bring you joy,
Right.
relationships that drain your energy.
Mhm.
You'd focus on living each day
Yeah.
to the fullest.
Right, like live each day as if it were your last.
Exactly.
But Heidegger's he's not just talking about carpe diem, is he?
No, he's not.
He's connecting this awareness of death to something
Deeper.
big.
Deeper. Yeah.
He's connecting it to the nature of time itself.
Time itself. Okay.
Yeah, Heidegger has this really unique perspective on time.
Okay.
He calls it temporality.
Temporality.
To emphasize that it's not just this linear progression,
Okay.
like a ticking clock.
Right.
It's the very framework
Okay.
through which we experience and understand our existence.
Mm-hmm.
He even describes time as the horizon of our being.
The horizon of our being. Okay, that's pretty abstract.
It is.
Can you unpack that a little bit?
Sure.
Like what does it mean to experience time as a horizon?
Well, think about it this way. Have you ever noticed
Yes.
how time seems to fly by?
When you're doing something you enjoy,
Right.
but it just drags on forever
Yeah.
when you're bored or anxious.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's because our experience of time
Mm-hmm.
isn't objective.
Okay.
It's shaped by our engagement with the world,
Mm-hmm.
by our moods, our expectations,
Yeah.
even our fears.
Yeah. No, I've definitely experienced that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes a weekend just flies by,
Exactly.
and then other times an hour can feel like an eternity.
Exactly. And that's what Heidegger is getting at
Okay.
our our past experiences,
Mm-hmm.
our present circumstances,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
our future aspirations, they all converge
Okay.
to create this unique
Yeah.
subjective experience of time.
Okay.
And it's within this horizon of time
Right.
that we make choices,
Right.
that we pursue goals, that we shape our lives.
So it's not just about how much time we have. It's about how we experience that time, how
Right.
we relate to it.
Exactly. And Heidegger believes
Mm.
that by becoming more aware
Yeah.
of our own temporality,
Mm-hmm.
by recognizing that time isn't something external to us,
Okay.
but rather something we actively create
Right.
through our choices and actions,
Mm-hmm.
we can live more authentic
Yeah.
and meaningful lives.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is, yeah.
It's like he's giving us a whole new way to think about time,
Yeah.
not as this enemy to be feared,
Right.
but as this canvas
Yeah.
on which we can paint our own masterpiece.
I like that. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes Heidegger's work so
Yeah.
enduring.
Yeah.
You know, he challenges us to confront these big questions,
Mm-hmm.
to think differently about ourselves
Right.
and our place in the world.
So we've covered a lot of ground so far.
We have.
But I'm kind of curious to explore
Yeah.
how these ideas like actually play out
Right.
in the real world.
Yeah.
You know, like how did being and time influence
Mm-hmm.
other thinkers,
Sure.
artists,
Yeah.
even our culture as a whole?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think about how
Really.
one book, even one as dense as this,
Yeah.
can have such a big impact.
It really is. And Heidegger's influence, I mean, it goes way beyond just like
Right.
academia. You know,
Yeah.
his ideas, they've kind of permeated art, literature,
Mm.
psychology, even the way we think about politics and technology.
So it's not just philosophers
Right.
like sitting around
Yeah, and their ivory towers.
debating these concepts.
Yeah.
Heidegger's ideas have like seeped into our
Yeah.
culture, our
Yeah.
art, even our everyday lives.
Absolutely. And take literature, for example.
Okay.
Think about the existentialist writers,
Right.
like Sartre and Camus.
Yeah.
They were deeply influenced by Heidegger.
Yeah.
And their works, they often explore themes of like
Mm-hmm.
individual freedom,
Right.
responsibility, the search for meaning
Yeah.
in an absurd world.
Right. Sounds familiar.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
You can see the echoes of Heidegger
Mm-hmm.
in their writing.
But it's not just literature, is it?
Yeah. No.
I've also heard that Heidegger had a pretty big impact on art as well.
Yeah, totally.
Like how so? Well, think about like the abstract expressionist movement in painting
Okay.
with artists like
Yeah.
Jackson Pollock,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Rothko.
Okay.
Their work, it moved away from traditional representation.
Yeah.
And it focused instead on expressing like raw emotion,
Right.
the subjective experience of
Mm-hmm.
being,
Okay.
you know, like they were trying to capture something beyond the surface,
Mhm.
something about the essence of human existence.
It's like they were trying to paint Dasein, to give form to those feelings of anxiety and care and being in the world
Exactly.
that Heidegger was writing about.
They're exploring the same territory,
Yeah.
just using a different medium.
Right. Right.
And this influence, I mean, it extends to other art forms as well.
Okay.
You know, from film to music to dance.
So Heidegger's ideas, they weren't just confined to the realm of philosophy,
Yeah.
they help to shape the way
They did, yeah.
that artists saw the world
Yeah.
and expressed themselves.
Mm.
But it goes even deeper than that.
He does, yeah.
I've heard that Heidegger's work has also been influential in fields like psychology and therapy.
Yeah, that's right.
How so?
Well, his exploration of themes like anxiety,
Mm.
authenticity,
Yeah.
the human condition, it really resonated
Yeah.
with therapists.
Okay.
They saw in Heidegger's work
Yeah.
a way to understand and address the existential challenges that their patients were facing.
That's pretty fascinating.
It is, yeah.
So how did therapists actually apply these ideas?
Well, one key figure here is Rollo May.
Rollo
He
May.
was an American psychologist
Okay.
who was deeply influenced by Heidegger,
Mm-hmm.
and in May,
Mm-hmm.
he helped to pioneer existential psychotherapy,
Existential psychotherapy.
which focuses on helping people confront those big questions
Yeah.
about meaning and purpose and freedom.
Right.
He believed that anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
rather than being something to be avoided,
Right.
could actually be a catalyst
Okay.
for growth and self-discovery.
I mean, that's pure Heidegger right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like Heidegger provided this new framework
Mhm.
for understanding human experience,
Oh.
one that acknowledged the complexities
Yeah.
and the challenges
Yeah.
of being in the world.
And these ideas continue to resonate today.
They do.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still struggling with a lot
Mhm.
of the same issues that Heidegger was wrestling with
For sure.
almost a century ago.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to be human
Right.
in a world that's increasingly dominated by technology?
Yeah. How do we find meaning
Right.
in a world that often feels so
Yeah.
fragmented and chaotic?
Yeah. Those are questions that I think Heidegger.
I think he would have loved to see where we've ended up
Right.
with all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
And while he didn't have all the answers,
Yeah.
his work provides a really powerful lens
Mm-hmm.
through which to examine these challenges.
Okay.
You know, he encourages us to think critically about technology,
Right.
to question our assumptions,
Yeah.
and to find ways to live more authentically
Mm-hmm.
in a world that's constantly changing.
So even though Being in Time
Yeah,
is a challenging read,
it is. Yeah.
it offers us these valuable tools for navigating the complexities of modern life.
It does. It
Mhm.
reminds us that philosophy isn't just some
Right.
intellectual exercise.
Yeah.
It's a way of life.
Right.
It's about engaging with the world,
Yeah.
questioning our assumptions,
Mhm.
and striving to live a more meaningful
Yeah.
and authentic existence.
Well, I think we've done a pretty deep dive
We have.
into Being in Time today.
Yeah, for sure.
We explored the historical context, unpacked some of the key concepts, and even touched on the book's far-reaching influence.
It's been a fascinating journey. And I hope our listeners are now inspired to maybe explore Heidegger's work for themselves.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely a book that rewards careful reading and reflection.
For sure.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back soon with another exploration of a thought-provoking topic.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.
Absolutely. So